welcome back to the ASEAN. You're with Gowri today on our Blast from the Grassroots session, and today we will be discussing about the condition of the Nepali workers in Malaysia. And with me, I have Asmod, who is a rising junior in Princeton University in the U.S., who is from Nepal, and he's been conducting some research, some interviews, and he's going to give us some first-hand information on this issue. Hi, Asmod.
Hello, Gowri.
Hi. You want to tell us a little bit about your research? Give us a little background.
Yeah, so I was trying to do an ethnography about Nepali migrants this summer. I studied public policy in my school, but I wanted to do something different this summer. But once I got here, I realized probably doing ethnography was something that I couldn't accomplish in two months because I'm going to only stay here during summer. So what I've been doing is trying to interview migrant workers, learning their personal stories, trying to just understand like why they come here, like what channels they use, like what their living situation here is, what are the policies. I've been talking to them, NGOs, the embassy here, and just trying to get us a sense of the situation here.
So what do you mean by the ethnography? I mean, I understand it's like the study of culture, but if you can explain a little bit more on that?
My understanding of ethnography is just like trying to understand, as you said, like the culture of a place, or trying to understand people by actually living with them.
Okay.
So what you do is like you go to the site, you live with the people, and you share their experiences and just like stay with them. And usually, like, ethnographies last for years sometimes because you earn the trust of people. And, like, say, if they are street vendors, like, you just stay with them and, like, see what do they do in their day-to-day life. So my original plan was to stay with the migrant workers, see their, like, work conditions, where they work, how they work, like, you know, eat probably the same food that they eat. But I also intern in DRNI.
Okay.
So that means I don't like, and I have some other obligations too. So that means I don't get to stay with them. Like I have to find a separate housing. Like I can't spend, you know, like almost all of my time with them. So I've been like splitting my time between my internship and the work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the methods that you've been using?
So mostly like I interview the workers. I do some like background reading from like say so I can get access to university site even while I'm and university resources even while you're abroad. So that's really a cool thing about Princeton's library. That you can get like any of the like read the journals, like any of the materials online. So I do that, and especially like rather than crunching data, what I'm trying to do is like I go to the workers and just ask them to share their personal stories, and I record some of them, which I like. I record some interviews, some I don't. It depends, like if the migrant, like if the people whom I'm interviewing, if they agree to be recorded. If not, like I just have casual conversations with them and try to just learn their personal stories. That's what I've been doing.
So what are the significant personal stories that you recorded throughout your interviews in Malaysia?
Hey, Arlene.
Hey.
It really varies, but I guess there's a pattern to the story. So the pattern is like, say, they come to Malaysia, like, and many of the people whom I'm interviewed, like, it's not necessarily, yeah, of course, it's a choice because, like, they come to Malaysia rather than other countries. But in a sense, it's also not because, they really don't get any proper, like, employment in Nepal. They are in debt. So they take out loans, come here, just to like have so that they can provide at least like some fulfill the basic needs of their family back home. But once they get here, like things are very different. So the stories, like, yeah, they are varied because like people are different and the individual stories are different, and people have been working from like say service sector to manufacturing. So the stories are like personal stories are different, but I'd say that there are commonalities even in those differences.
So what's their employment experience working in Malaysia, like the working hours, the way their employers treated them, and also the way they, the condition of their working places as well?
It depends. Say, like before they come here, they sign a contract, like as per the Malaysian labor law. But sometimes, and that's the majority of the cases, that's just limited to papers. So ideally, they are supposed to work like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, like have insurance, take vacations, like if something happens during their work or if they happen to die, like probably the employer would pay some amount or like take care of that. But what actually happens is like a lot of people and there are a lot of security guards working in Nepali security guards working in Malaysia. I think the total number of Nepali employees in Malaysia is at least 700,000. And what they do is they work 12 hours a day. Most of the security guards who you see in the shopping malls and almost everyone every security guard you see so far you're tempted to say that he's from Nepal from my experience here. And they work there for 12 hours, 7 days a week. Some get vacation for 2 days a month. But even then, they live in hostels. Some people I've talked to, they said their hostels were good. They had Wi-Fi, nice rooms. But a hostel I went to, they had no running water. The drainage had leaked, not proper place to cook. And they were just living 3 or 4 people in a very small room, and it wasn't that hygienic. They didn't have, and most of one of the very crucial thing is almost all Nepali workers hand their passports to the agents or the employers once they get here. So once you don't have your legal documents with you, you have to accept the terms and conditions of your employers. So most of them are forced to basically are at the mercy of their employers.
Do you know how much are these employers getting paid?
Employees? It depends, because I was just talking to a journalist yesterday and told there are some who are paid as 2,000 ringgit. That's $600 or $700. Maybe not, maybe 5. I don't know, how much is it? Let's say $600, right? But most of them, the basic Malaysian salary for migrant workers is 900 ringgit.
Okay. She's $300 US.
That's what they are paid, and that's what written in paper. But some of it is just limited to paper. Say they get paid 900, but the company they have to pay something called Levy to the government, and the company also charges them for hostel, for food. So at the end of the month, they'll probably get 600 or 700 ringgits if their salary is 900. The security guards, they probably earn anywhere from say 1,000 to 1,500, 1,600 ringgits. It really depends.
When you say levy to the government, what is the percentage of that levy? I mean, would it be the same as other ordinary Malaysian workers, where if your salary is above 2,500 ringgit, you need to pay a certain amount of tax to the government?
I think even an employee whose salary is 900 has to pay a certain levy. or like at least their employers take a chunk of their money to pay levy to the government. I'm not sure exactly how much the amount was. And what's another interesting finding that I stumbled upon was people come here through agents in Nepal, agents in Malaysia, and probably like many channels in between. And the agents, like, they take out chunk of money from the employees every month. And I learned that, some of the agents take as much as 200 ringgits per person per month as long as they are employed. So that means, like, if you bring a certain person to Malaysia, and if they're running so-called, like, some of the human resources company, once the worker starts working, they take out like 200 ringgits of his salary every single month as long as he's working. Say, like, if you employ 40 people, that's like 8,000 ringgits in your bank account without doing any work. And I'd say that's just like out of the law. Like, you can't do that.
Oh, okay. You mean you cannot do that? Is it?
Meaning, like, say, if I take out a certain portion of, like, if someone takes out certain portion of my salary, like, say 200 ringgits every single month while I'm working, like, is the person allowed to do that, like, without any reasons, just as a service fee? And that money is not even going to the government. That's simply a so-called service fee to the agent because he found out a job for me. Maybe, like, I'd pay some commission to him earlier, right? Like, right at the beginning when he helped me find a job, but not like every single month. I'd pay him 200 ringgits.
Did these people tell you why they chose Malaysia to come here? Like, do people project Malaysia as like a land of opportunities there, that it's easy to get a job and all?
I think it's mostly through like pre-established channels and the like what connections the agents have, and also largely the government policies. Say, like, many Nepalese go to India because, like, we don't need a visa. And in, say, like, there are a lot of Nepalese in Middle East, like, there have been recent news about, say, World Cup and, like, how Nepali workers are treated. So, like, Nepalese go to these countries because it's easier for them, and, like, they get higher wages in these countries if they do the same job versus, like, if they take the same job in Nepal. And the agent companies in Nepal, they are called Manpower companies. They entice the people saying, like, hey, if you go to Malaysia, probably you can earn, like, thrice as much salary versus if you stay in Nepal.
How much of this promotion that they have done in Nepal, like how widespread it is?
There's not, like, say, an official promotion. So what mostly happens, from what I've learned from the workers, is some of the people they know, like, can be there, like, in many cases, it's their own, like, relatives or family members or friends. They act as, like, local agents for those manpower companies, which are mostly in cities and in Kathmandu, which is the capital. So they work through agents, like one agent, local agent, has connection with regional agent. The regional agent has connection with the office in the center. So, like, they take up bonuses for, like, say if they bring a certain worker to Malaysia, right? So they charge him certain fees along the way, and every single agent takes a certain chunk of commission. So their, like, livelihood depends on, like, how many workers go abroad. So they don't necessarily tell the actual, like, real, like, working condition in Malaysia. They just say, like, hey, and some of them even tell the real working condition, meaning, like, one of the guard told me, not all of them cheat. They tell the, like, workers that, hey, you're going to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and people agree on that, like, based on their own volition.
But sorry.
Sorry.
Do these, like, horror stories ever go back to Nepal?
That's very interesting because some of them do and some of them don't. People told me, like, when they, like, many people who come here take loans from the relatives, from banks, and the interest rates are really high. And also there's something like some of the like social stigma that people have. Say, people have told me that if they tell the real stories back at home, not everyone in society is, like probably wants them to succeed, or like, like probably they have some, like we all have egos. So say like if you are living a certain life standard in Nepal, and like if you go and tell your friends like, hey, this is what I suffered, people feel that, they're probably not looked upon into society and lose their status that they have. So people actually like, not everyone tells real, like I found some people like who are honest and who are willing to come out with their stories. But some people, they are really hesitant to even speak the truth, because like they feel that, hey, I'm come to this land to earn money. So I've come here to struggle. Like if struggle means this, like I'll just accept that. And they don't know their rights and like, like what they are like supposed to get. So they just think that like however they are being treated as, like it's just a part of the struggle and they have to accept their fate. So like they don't think like it's a form of exploitation to begin with.
What are the costs of coming to Malaysia for these Nepali?
Costs?
Yeah.
The official cost is like 85 or like 90,000 rupees. That translates to roughly like $1,000. That's the official limit set by the government. You can take less, but you cannot definitely even charge a penny more than that. But what the agents do is like I've heard they charge as much as like 2,000 to 2,500, like anywhere from like say $1,000 to $2,500 to be in Malaysia. But the interesting thing is like you have to like have a receipt of like how much you paid. And I just looked at a document yesterday where a worker paid like $1,800 to be in Malaysia. Well, officially he wasn't supposed to pay more than like $800. So, but he had the receipt of paying like just $40,000, like 40,000 rupees. That's like $400 to show to the government, because the government won't allow him to, like and will charge the Manpower agency if he paid more than $800. So like. It's also people, what the Manpower companies tell people is like, hey, like even though you paid me this much, right, more than you're supposed to, like we'll tell this to the government so that you'll actually, you won't face any hassle. So people like, even they like, it depends like how educated people are about their own rights and, how much they're supposed to pay. And even they cooperate against like sometimes it's a really complex story.
So can these people leave the country whenever they want, or is there a restriction?
Most of the workers here come here on a 3-year agreement basis.
Okay.
But the problem is if you want to leave your job, like probably you should be. If the working conditions aren't according to what you agreed, like what you thought, you'd get. Okay. But as I said, the problem starts right when they leave Nepal and when they enter here, because they have to hand over their passports to the employers.
Right.
What that means is if they don't accept the working conditions or terms of the employers, whatever that be, like working 10 hours, 12 hours a day, their employers won't hand them their passports. So there's a growing number of illegal or undocumented Nepali migrant workers, because they come here and they find out like, hey, like actually like I was told that I'd work 40 hours a day, like a week, and now I'm working 70 hours a week. Like I don't want to do that, but they also don't have a valid document. So what they do is like they just leave the company that they're working with and try to find a new job. But they don't have a valid document with them. So now they become undocumented or illegal workers. So yeah, that's a growing problem here in Malaysia.
So I think that's all the time that we have for this morning. We had a very, very interesting discussion on raising this awareness on the condition of the Nepali workers in Malaysia. Thank you very much, Asmod, for joining us.
Thanks for allowing me to present some of my findings. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Okay, see you.
Okay, thanks.